Instant Pot Biryani is about to become your new favorite weeknight meal. It's so delicious and comes together in only 45 minutes. So first thing we'll do is slice half of an onion. We're only making 1 pound of chicken here, so you don't need that much. And if you don't feel like slicing an onion, you can use the prepackaged fried onions instead as well. And then I rough chopped 2 medium tomatoes. Lastly, I chopped some cilantro that we're going to use at the very end. Now we're going to set our Instant Pot on saute mode on the highest heat setting, which on my Instant Pot is more. Then we're going to put enough oil in the pot to cover the bottom. Now we can add our onions and saute them for a bit, and if we want them to cook faster, we can add the lid and then they'll brown faster. But check them after 5 minutes to make sure they don't burn. Now while the onions are browning, we can rinse our rice, and then you need to really rinse your rice very, very well because we're not soaking it, and then drain it and set it aside. Now after about 5 minutes with the lid on, our onions are brown, and now we can start adding our ginger and garlic paste and our tomatoes. Now we need this to cook down, so we're going to add the lid again and let this cook for about 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, after a few minutes, we can lift the lid. Now that our tomatoes are soft, we can add our chicken, and I'm using chicken tenderloins here because they are naturally very tender and they'll cook very fast. I cut them into small pieces, and if you want to see how I clean my chicken tenderloins, you can look at my Chicken 65 video. I give a thorough explanation there. I'm adding 1 packet of Shan Masala Biryani Masala. You can use any masala packet that you like. After sauteing the chicken for a few minutes, we're going to add some yogurt. This is actually homemade yogurt, and if you want to see how I did this, you can check out my homemade yogurt video. And we are going to mix that yogurt in very well, and this is going to provide enough liquid for our chicken to cook in. We're not going to have to add extra water at this point. We can let this simmer with the lid on for 10 minutes to ensure that the chicken cooks through all the way and gets tender. And this is one of those know your Instant Pot type of a things because there's so many different versions of the Instant Pot. On mine, if I were to leave this chicken to simmer on the high setting or the more setting, it would catch the bottom and burn. So I'm lowering my saute heat to the normal, which is like the medium heat. So you should just know your Instant Pot. And if it feels like it's too high, try lowering the saute temperature for this step. Okay, after the chicken has simmered for 10 minutes, it'll be cooked all the way through, and I'm going to prove it to you with a thermometer because I'm also very paranoid about serving chicken that's not cooked all the way through, so you can see it's clearly well over 165 degrees. Now I'm adding 1 diced potato. The smaller the pieces, the better because we do want this to cook fast. And now I'm adding 3 cups of hot water. Now it's time to add our rice, and this is 2.5 cups of rice, by the way, and all the measurements will be in the caption. Now I'm adding half of the cilantro in to cook with it, and I'm going to reserve the other half for garnish on top. Now we can give this a good stir and make sure our potatoes are completely covered under the water so that they cook. Now let's add our lid and make sure it's in the sealing position because we are about to use a pressure cooking setting. Now we are going to put our Instant Pot on the rice setting, which is an automatic pressure cook setting. And if your Instant Pot does not have a rice button, you can pressure cook for 12 minutes on low. And it will take some time to pressurize, but once it is pressurized, it will start to count down. Okay, now that it's done, we can release the pressure valve and lift the lid. And look at how good that looks. It's such a good color. Now we can fluff our rice, and naturally with the Instant Pot, you're going to have spots that are mushier than others. It's just because the rice is kind of crowded in there. 2.5 cups is probably the max that you can cook in an 8-quart Instant Pot, which is what I'm using here. But it comes out really delicious, and it's fully cooked, and the potatoes are fully cooked. Now we're going to add some food coloring to give it that authentic biryani look. Even though what we just did here, we technically made a pulao because we cooked the rice in the water, in the broth. But in an Instant Pot, you can't do a real biryani with the layering and all of that. But this comes out pretty good, and I don't think anybody will be able to tell the difference. Now I'm adding some cilantro, which is the other half that we reserved for the garnish on top. And I'm also going to add some fried onions. These are the prepackaged ones from the store, just to give it a little something extra on top. Now we can fluff this some more, and look at how good this looks. If you put this on a serving platter, nobody would be able to tell that you made it in the Instant Pot. Now we can plate this up and enjoy.